What up, people? Push Wild Black here with Push Wild Black Sports. And this is going to be a little different. This is not going to be on a particular game or a particular team. I am going to talk about LaVar Ball's decision to have his sons LiAngelo and LaMelo sign with an agent and will try to play overseas. Okay. Now, this is an article written by Jeff Goodman from ESPN. I'm going to read the article, and I'm going to read you a couple other articles about another sports dad doing a very similar thing in 2009 with his son after his sophomore season. And those of you that are baseball fans and listen to this video know exactly who I'm talking about. But give me a couple minutes. Okay, LaVar Ball told ESPN that his sons LiAngelo and LaMelo Ball have signed with agent Harrison Gaines, ending any speculation that Melo will play college basketball. The plan is now for both to play on the same team overseas. Quote, "I don't care about the money," LaVar Ball said Thursday morning. "I want them to go somewhere where they will play them together on the court at the same time. The priority is for the boys to play on the same team." Ball said earlier this week that the plan was still for LaMelo, who withdrew from Chino Hills High School early in his junior season, to play at UCLA in 2 years. However, the elder Ball told ESPN that that won't be the case. He's not going to play college basketball, Ball said. Gaines also represents the oldest of the Ball brothers, Los Angeles Lakers rookie LiAngelo Ball. LaVar and Gaines have been dealing with various overseas clubs about LiAngelo and LaMelo. Sources told ESPN that several teams in Europe and Asia have expressed interest. "I don't know the deals and who's offering what," Ball said. "I'm letting Harrison handle that. But I know there are a few teams interested. I just need to get them playing again." Ball said he will likely spend time wherever his two youngest sons wind up playing. He also intends to have their uncles go over and help. "There will be 3 people with them all the time," Ball said. "I'll go back and forth and probably stay out there a while at first." Ball pulled LiAngelo from UCLA earlier in the week and told ESPN that he was frustrated that the school hadn't made a final determination on the length of his son's suspension following an arrest for shoplifting while in China last month. Lonzo Ball said after the Lakers shoot-around in Philadelphia on Thursday that his brother signing with his agent was a good decision, and the family discussed the matter beforehand. "If they are over there, I wish them the best," he said, "and if they do go, it'll be a family decision." Now, I'm going to read you an article about Bryce Harper in 2009 leaving high school early. I'm going to read you two, actually. Okay. So this one is by John Ryan, Mercury News, Bay Area News Group, June 14th, 2009. All right. It is a shocking headline at first, but the most surprising part of Bryce Harper's or his dad's decision that it makes total sense. Harper, the Las Vegas high school catcher who was on the cover of Sports Illustrated, will forgo his final 2 years of high school and get his GED and play community college baseball next year at the College of Southern Nevada. His father, Ron, made the announcement Saturday at a tournament in Oklahoma City. Bryce is always looking for his next challenge. Ron Harper told the Las Vegas Review-Journal he's going to pursue his education too. He's going to get pushed academically and athletically. "I don't see a problem with it. I think we handled it the right way. I think it'll be a great story." All right, let's move it down. Harper will turn 17 on October 16th, and by finishing high school, he will be eligible for the 2010 draft, where he is expected to be the number 1 pick and command a multi-million-dollar signing bonus. His dad says the family isn't sure if Bryce will enter the draft in 2010 or 2011. Take a guess which way that'll come out. "The path is somewhat controversial. People question your parenting and what you're doing," Ron told the Review-Journal. And in his defense, he added that his older brother, Brian, would transfer from Cal State Northridge. "My son is going to live with us and still eat with us at the same table," His brother will be mentoring him. Why can't it be a good story? It can't be good to everyone because many people believe high school sports exist in there, leave it to be reformed, where kids show up on the first day of the season and the best guy in gym class gets to be star. In reality, elite team athletics are professionals in every sense but the paycheck. And except in football, there isn't a sport in which a high school season gets priority over the club and travel circuit. Note where the Harpers were for the announcement, Oklahoma City. No, they weren't playing for the Nevada State Championship and the glory of neighborhood high. So the question becomes, is Harper too young? Point of order. Angel Villona, the San Jose Giants' current first baseman, signed for $2.1 million out of the Dominican Republic as soon as he turned 16. Now at age not quite 19, he's on his third year pro ball last year. Last year, the A's signed Dominican pitcher Michael Noah, I said that wrong, for $4.25 million as soon as he turned 16. But Bryce, because he lives in the United States, isn't supposed to want that kind of payday. If Harper were a basketball player, of course, he'd have to follow David Stern's one and done 1 year of college edict, where he'd make a farce of the game and the education. In football, he'd have to pretend to care about school for 3 years. This way is honest, and it's the way of the future. Okay, that's one article where this is a good thing. Now I'm going to read you another article basically where they're saying that it's a bad thing. And this is, let me see, the Bleacher Report? Yeah, it's the Bleacher Report. And let's see who wrote it. Truth is, Bryce Harper's path to the major leagues is a troubling one. Let's see if I can get the article down, because I want to give the author credit before. It's weird. It doesn't have an actual name here. It just has the initials CK. Truth is, Bryce Harper's path to the major leagues is a troubling one. At the age of 16, Bryce Harper recently completed his sophomore year at Las Vegas High School in Las Vegas, Nevada. Shortly thereafter, Harper made a decision that will impact the remainder of his life. He dropped out of high school after just 2 years of attending classes. Rather than earn his high school diploma, the LeBron James of basketball, as referred to by Sports Illustrated, will attend the College of Southern Nevada. There he will be eligible to earn his GED once he's 17, which is acquired by taking a test and is meant for high school dropouts who can't receive a diploma. Actual graduates are almost always more successful down the road compared to GED holders. That's classist, but I digress. Okay. The lone explanation for Harper's exit from high school is that his eligibility to be drafted into the Major League Baseball, into the MLB, moves up to 2010 rather than 2011. Harper, born on October 16, 1992, will be a measly 17 years old at the time of the 2010 MLB rookie draft. He is projected to be taken first overall, yet that can change if Washington Nationals decide to go elsewhere, considering the price they would be required to pay for his services. Once drafted, the Phenom will spend some time in the minor leagues to become acclimated with professional baseball. A jump from 2 years of high school to 1 year junior college and finally to the minor leagues. But with the talent Bryce Harper possesses, he and his family clearly have no concerns, nor should they. Their little boy, who quite the contrary, is going to make it big, possibly bigger than anyone ever has. There's no doubt that Bryce is it. Not many boys at the age of 17 can handle professional baseball and the responsibilities that come with it but Bryce can. There's nothing Bryce can't handle, whether it's a 570-foot home run or throwing a 95 plus mile an hour fastball. He has it covered. Then reality sets in. The former surefire stud is nowhere near a baseball field. His dreams of launching himself into baseball stardom are shattered, and now, with no high school diploma, Bryce Harper is left with very little to work with. The detriment served to Harper as a 17-year-old could potentially ruin the remainder of his life. He sure is a one kind of talent, but is skipping out on a high school diploma worth the risk? A college degree can be earned later in life. Finishing high school is a one-time thing. The difference between Bryce Harper being selected in the 2010 draft and the 2011 draft is minimal. The likelihood of him touching the surface of the big leagues before the age of 20 is extremely small. Harper's parents are doing an enormous disservice to their child. Bryce is being taught that baseball is life and life is baseball. The sole reason for choosing the College of Southern Nevada is because the baseball program is elite when stacked against other junior colleges. His parents are particularly sending a message that he is going to be the best to ever step on the field. The mention of failure by anyone is glared down. The Harpers shall not tolerate such hogwash. If they only knew. Just think who saw what happened to Josh Hamilton coming? Who's to say the same couldn't happen to Bryce without the rehabilitation? There's no guarantees in this world, especially when it comes to professional sports. The pressure set on the biggest prospect in years is already enough to drive any of us on the brink of insanity. Instead, his parents advising him to stay in high school, allowing him to have something to fall back on, is unable to make it big. They're guiding him into a field of trouble. If Bryce Harper is everything he's expected to be, the decision will never once again be brought to our attention. But if the slight possibility Harper falls, subject to the pressure of his own hype, turns out to be a reality, success outside of baseball will excruciatingly be difficult to achieve. It's all or nothing for him. It's either Bryce Harper, MLB superstar, or Bryce Harper, plumber extraordinaire. Basically, it comes down to one simple question. What would 2 more years of high school have done harm to Bryce Harper's career? Absolutely nothing. Bryce Harper and his family are in a rush to be famous rather than assuring Bryce somewhat of a future. It's all in for the Harpers. They want money and fame in 2010. Waiting to 2011 is ludicrous to them. He would be playing Major League Baseball around the same year anyway, but they don't care. It's simply a matter of we want him drafted as soon as possible, or we want our child to have a future if baseball doesn't work out. Unfortunately, the Harpers have chosen the former of the two. In a situation relative to this, I can understand why college isn't necessary. If a future in baseball were to fall through, he can always go to university afterwards. But the only way that would happen is if he had completed high school. Now, without a high school diploma, that opportunity doesn't realistically exist. Don't get me wrong. Harper has the potential to be the best player of his era. He is the most talked about 16-year-old prospect in recent memory. The only thing is, potential gets you so far. There are no free rides in professional baseball. Harper will have his moment to shine, yet if he is unable to prove himself worthy of a major league contract, his future isn't bright. I feel for Bryce Harper, I honestly do. He has a profound supply of talent. I've never seen a player who can play so many positions with such ease. He's throwing 95 miles an hour at age 16. It's absolutely mind-boggling what this kid can do. Yet, he can't afford to forget how difficult life can be. Bryce could easily turn into one of the most infamous busts in baseball history. That's how life works. His ego could eventually get the best of him, or outside forces such as drugs, poor influences, or just the immense pressure could derail his career. At worst, a high school diploma would aid him in attempting to live a respectable life. If a baseball career is no longer reality, Bryce won't have one, which leaves him in an extremely difficult position in today's world. A college degree is almost always required nowadays to make a comfortable living. How can he succeed if he never passes the 11th grade? Obviously, I share a completely different opinion than Bryce and his family. I believe that they are under the illusion that he is going to be better than anyone ever before him. He certainly has the potential to be that, but as previously stated, potential only gets you so far. Harper is going out on a limb by dropping out of high school. I believe it is completely unnecessary, but my opinion doesn't matter to him, nor should it. All I can hope for is that he understands the risk being taken by not completing high school. Hopefully, Bryce Harper's pure talent can evolve into everything it's said to be. Truth is, if it doesn't, life after baseball won't be so rewarding. Now, that was from the Bleacher Report, CK, and that was in 2009. That article right there is there's so many wrong things there, but what ended up happening was, of course, he dropped out. Of course, he got his GED, and what it was, he dropped out of school. You take after your sophomore season, you can actually take the GED test at 14. You don't have to wait till 17 years old to do it. So he dropped out. He took the GED test to go to junior college. Because I remember when this story broke and everybody was like, everybody lost their mind. But when it was actually explained, he took the test to go to college, specifically to go to college. That was the best junior college in the area, if not one of the best in the country. So the plan was for him to, despite what this article says, the plan actually was for him to go to junior college for 2 seasons and get his associate's degree. That was what the plan was. I remember that article when that happened. Originally, the plan was to do that. So he really didn't. The author of this article really doesn't know how GEDs work. If you get a GED, that's as good as a high school diploma, which people don't get. But we take, that's as good as a high school diploma as far as getting you basic jobs and as far as you getting in admitted to college. So he was going to go pro. The idea was he was going to go 2 years in junior college first. He was going to play 2 years in junior college. What happened was they made it to the national championship. In the National Junior College Championship, he gets ejected after having a monster game in that last game. Then he gets drafted in 2010, and he's a multimillionaire now, and he's about to be the highest paid. He's about to be the highest paid baseball player in MLB history. It's going to be one of those contracts when he's a free agent, I think next summer. The reason why I'm doing this video is that I think LaVar Ball, his motivation to pull his sons out of their respective schools is selfish, meaning it's egotistical. His ego of he didn't like the coach of Chino Hills, so LaMelo has to go. So I'm gonna coach him up, and I'm gonna coach him up because I don't like the coach of Chino Hills telling my son how we should play. So I'm gonna pull him out, and then I don't like how UCLA is handling the shoplifting situation, so I'm going to pull LiAngelo out. His ego and his reasoning for this is troubling. LaVar Ball is. But the idea that the act of pulling his sons out of school to chase a professional career in basketball is not troubling to me. Bryce Harper is fine. You know what I'm saying? When you're independent, when you're in individual sports, this happens all the time. People become pros at 14, 15, 16 years old in golf, in figure skating with sponsorships, in gymnastics with sponsorships, in baseball. In the first article I read about Bryce Harper, we have Dominican Republic kids getting signed for a few $1 million right out of the Dominican Republic. As a matter of fact, that's been baseball's second minor league system for years. Bryce Harper is fine. I don't like what LaVar is doing as far as reasons. His reasons are wrong because he's doing it out of ego. But the idea that he's pulling the kids out, that being a mistake, that's not a mistake. I'm gonna want y'all to think about something for a minute, and this is more of LiAngelo. This isn't LaMelo, because LaMelo can't play professional ball over here anyway until he's 18. But you can go to the D League directly out of high school. The NBA doesn't like talking about that. That's one of the reasons why the NBA really hasn't put a lot of money into the G League. Two reasons. One, they're still trying to fund the WNBA, so that's where most of the money is coming from. And two, and David Stern said this when he changed the rule, because originally to go into the D League you had to be 19 years old, and then when he made the one and done, when they made the one and done rule for guys to enter the NBA at 19, and the rule wasn't college. The rule was you had to be a year past your high school class to get drafted. So I remember David Stern said in an interview, you can go to college for a year, you can go overseas for a year, you can sit out for a year. You can go to the D League for a year, because they only had that rule where you had to be 19 to go into the D League. They only had that rule for 1 year. And then after that, it was 18 years. But no one talked about that. Actually, you had a kid that went directly from high school to the D League, and he played for the Tulsa. He played for Tulsa, the OKC D League affiliate. He was part of that. He was part of the LeBron James trade to Miami, quite honestly. And then he ended up getting released, and OKC picked him up. I forget the kid's name right now, and he didn't really pan out that well. But you can go to the D League right out of high school. You can go to the D League if you get kicked out of college. That's happened too. And there have been D League players. There's been a couple of D League dudes that's got drafted. So I say that to say this. LiAngelo Ball doesn't even have to go overseas. Now that might be the most the best way for them to start their career financially, but LiAngelo Ball can go to the D League for a year. Magic Johnson is cool with LaVar, okay? LaVar Ball is there. It is around a lot. His influence is there. They've negative or positive. If LiAngelo Ball ends up being in the Lakers / Clippers minor league affiliate in a few months, then I would not be surprised. If LiAngelo ends up being in the Golden State minor league affiliate in a year, and you play for the rest of the season, you play for the rest of the G League season, and then you get drafted by the Lakers or by the Golden State Warriors or by the Clippers, I wouldn't be surprised. You don't even have to go to if you just want to make it to the league, You don't have to do the overseas route. Now, LaMelo has to just because of his age, because there's no other option for him to play over here. And it's probably best for them to, and I heard Earl Watson say this on Undisputed today. It's probably better for both of them to play together on the same team because Melo will make sure LiAngelo will get the ball if they play on the same team and if they play on the court at the same time. So it helps both of them get good highlights and get good tape to the NBA or wherever they decide to go. So if LaMelo has to play ball overseas for 2 years and LiAngelo should, because I think Earl Watson was saying that LiAngelo should play for 2 years anyway, just because he's undersized and he still has to figure out his game a little bit. So if he has to play for 2 years overseas and LaMelo has to play for 2 years because of his age overseas, that works out for them. So if they end up going to the league in 2 years, how is that a failure? It's not a failure. So before we, because I'm starting to hear a little bit now about this and about how he's, his plan is kind of failing and stuff. It's not. Now, I don't like how the message that this sends to his kids, to where if you have an issue with someone, do you leave? If you have an issue with your coach, do you quit? If you have an issue with your school, do you quit? That's something that I'm not a fan of. I think that the UCLA situation, I think LiAngelo should have stayed at UCLA. LaVar shouldn't have pulled him out. He's going to get suspended, but I understand the thought process of, I don't want him waiting 2 or 3 months and not really getting any playing time. I'll just pull him out and we'll figure out something else. I don't like the whole cut and run aspect of it, but it is what it is. That's his kid. They thought it was the best decision. I also don't, and let's see. I don't know, man. Like, I was talking about this with some people and with kids. I don't have any kids. And I was talking about this with a couple of people that are fathers, and they were just like, they didn't like the message that it sent, to where they're not learning anything. They're not learning. They feel like dad is going to save them, and that they feel like they can do whatever they want, and dad is going to save them. And they're spoiled, and they're not learning, consequences for their actions. That is true. That's true. Like, they're not learning consequences from their actions, because if they end up getting signed, they end up getting if both of them end up getting signed and they end up getting 6-figure contracts out this deal, and one is basically busted for stealing and there's no consequence there, and one is basically, the coach is mad because you're taking a bunch of shots, and your dad is going to pull you out so you can go pro in a few months. You're not learning how to be coached. You know what I'm saying? So I understand that, but I just don't like the idea that him trying to get his kids to be professional basketball players and how he's doing it is a negative. And I'm starting to listen to that on the radio, and I'm starting to watch that on television a little bit. Like, that's, his reasoning is kind of messed up, but the way that he's going about doing it, fixing the problem, is a good one. Because I honestly think that, and this is a person that has 2 college degrees, I don't think that an athlete should have to go to school for 1 year, 2 years, 3 years, if your job is to be a professional athlete. And his job is to be a professional athlete. Their jobs are to be professional athletes. So, though I don't like his reasoning, I do like the fact that he's actually breaking the norm here as far as making sure his kids, his two sons, get an opportunity to play overseas. Because that happens, we don't really like to talk about that, but that actually happens more than a lot of people want to say. Heck, everybody thought LeBron James was going to challenge the NBA after his junior season to play in the NBA. He thought better of that, and he played his senior season of high school. But look how he turned out. So anyway, but that's my thought about LaVar Ball taking his sons out of high school and UCLA, respectively. I think they'll be fine. I think LaMelo, of the two of them, LaMelo probably could have stood a couple of years at UCLA, but there's no guarantee that after 2 years in college he's going to be NBA ready. Might as well start the clock on your overseas career if there is one now. And LaMelo, of the three Ball brothers, is probably the best pro prospect anyway because he can score better and he's an attacker. So I think they'll be fine. I still don't like the Big Baller brand as a brand. I still think the logo is corny. I still think some of LaVar Ball's decision making as far as the way he acts is bad. But I do respect the fact, as I said in the first video that I did about him, I do respect the fact that he's trying to build his own brand and he's trying to build his own way, and he's not just trying to get a quote-unquote, partnership with a big company where they take the majority of the control and the majority of your money. I will always respect that, even though I'll never buy the shoes because they're $500. And I think that Big Baller brand is a bad name and the logo is corny. And that's just me being a designer for 10 years. Like, I would never name my company that, and I would never have that logo the way it is. It still doesn't mean that I don't respect him trying to build a brand for him and his family. And quite honestly, if baseball parents can do that almost 10 years ago, why is LaVar Ball being criticized for doing the same thing to his sons now? Anyway, I'm out. Later, people.